In the last lecture, we installed Redux and React Redux and started creating the reducer. Let's now add some actions. For that, in the actions folder, I'm going to add a file named action types. Here I want to define all the action types I know. And for our application, I can think of 3 action types we need right now. One for adding a place, one for deleting a place, and one for selecting a place. And maybe even one for unselecting the place, so that we can also use that action to close the modal essentially. If we decide to, hit the close button, we essentially unselect the place we tapped on before. So it's 4 actions. Let me simply export 4 constants here in the action types file. And the convention is to create these constants to have clearly defined action types, and you don't have to type them all over the place again with the danger of mistyping and therefore, adding an error which is hard to find. So the first action is add place. And the convention is to name the constant, like the action type, and use all uppercase characters. And the value then is just a string with that value. So add place, and it holds a string, add place. That's our first type. The second type is delete place, if we want to get rid of one. So here we got delete place like this. And then we will have one for selecting a place. So let's name this one select place. And then finally one for unselecting. So unselect place or deselect. Let's use deselect place. So deselect place is our 4th action type. Now you might be aware of the concept of action creators. If you aren't, you can learn more about all of that on the official Redux documentation on redux.js.org. The action creator idea is mostly important for also using asynchronous code in your actions. It's basically a couple of functions that return objects that represent actions. And this is an alternative approach. I will use it though because it's really convenient, especially once we start running asynchronous code or we need to handle side effects, which we always handle in actions. So let me add my places.js file in the actions folder. This is where I want to store my places related actions. And here I will also export a constant and I'll name it add place, now named like this, not all uppercase. And this actually will be a function. A function which also should get arguments which describe the place. And if we have a look at our app.js file at the add place handler, we see that for adding a place right now we need a name. So I expect to also get the place name as an argument here. And then in this function we simply just return a JavaScript object, because actions are just JavaScript objects. And an action creator serves as a factory which spits out actions. So it has to spit out a JavaScript object. To be a valid action, this object needs to at least have a type property. That's the only hard requirement. It needs to have that. Now we defined the types in our action types file. So let's import from there, from action types. You can omit the file extension since it's JavaScript. Our build workflow will add it automatically. And then here, I will import add place, and I will also already import the other ones. So delete, select, and deselect. We'll all need them later too. Now here with that, the type of this object we return here is add place, referring to this add place constant, which held a string, which value is add place. Now this action should also have a payload, because this action will be consumed by the reducer in the end, and the reducer needs to know the name of the place, so we should pass it on. And therefore I will also name this place name and pass on the place name argument here. So the argument is the value we pass on. This is then the property name by which we can access it in the reducer later. So I'm going to now add another action creator, delete place. If we have a look at the app.js file for this, you see that for deleting we don't need any extra information because we always delete the selected place. So we don't expect an argument in this action creator. We just return a JavaScript object here, which has a type which is delete place, and that's actually all. Then we need one for selecting a place. So a new action creator, select place. Here the idea is to return a JavaScript object which allows the reducer to, well, select the place. And there, if we have a look at the app.js file, when we use the place select handler, we also get the key of the element of the place we want to select. So we should expect that key as an argument in this action creator too, set the type of the action to select place, and then also add a property, maybe place key, which is the key we receive as an argument. Now the fourth and last action creator I'll add is deselect place. Here I don't expect any argument because we will simply deselect the currently selected place. So I will just return a JavaScript object here, and in that object I'll have a type which is deselect place, not delete, deselect. So that is my action creator file. Now later in the app we'll have multiple action creator files. So I'll actually add a new file in the actions folder, which I'll name index.js. And there I will simply bundle all my exports so that later we can conveniently import from this file only instead of having to reference all the other files. So there I will just add an export statement, an export from my places file here in the same folder, so from the file we just created. And now I simply want to export all the action creators I added there. So add place, delete place, select place, and deselect place. This might look strange, but the idea really is just to have one place we can import from. It will become really useful once we have more action creator files. Now with that set up, we can go back to our reducer and start adding logic there to be able to handle our different action types.